We're here this morning for the initial disposition of the parent in this case. And the names of our participants, please.
Lee Heiss, the guardian ad litem for the children.
Thomas, counsel for the department.
Eva Kopis, prosecutor specialist with NDHHS.
Can you spell that for us, please?
Eva, EVA, left name Kopis, KOPAS.
All right, thank you.
Michael McFarland, representing mother. Please introduce yourself.
Stephanie Varga Avalos.
Very good. All right. Ms. Heights, we're ready for your report whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. I got to meet these.
Do we need him?
Oh,
Okay.
yes, he represents bio dad of the older two.
Right, very good. Okay. All right. Okay, so do we have Joseph Miller here?
Yes.
Joseph, great, very good. What about Guy Avalos?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, welcome.
And the two older children are here too, Your Honor, zoning colleague.
Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Brooks.
Your Honor.
Your client, Mr. Miller, has already introduced himself. He is here. Would you like to put your appearance on?
Michael Brooks, I'm appearing on behalf of Mr. Miller, Joseph Miller. Okay. He is the legal father of the younger child and the bio father of the older child.
All right, Ms. Heiss.
Thank you, Your Honor. I was able to meet these four wonderful girls. Wow. You're missing all the fun out in the field. So as you recall, all four girls are staying with Mr. Avalos, and they, the two younger are his biological children, two older are not, but this is where they call home. This is who they call dad. So all their needs are being met in their current placement, which can be no small feat. Dad has to argue for the family gets food funding on a card, a debit card, and he has to argue even to get the food card from mom to get milk for the kids, and he has to get gas to get the milk for the kids, and it's a big chore. So we'll be looking forward to supporting him in this placement. According to the girls, the older girls, there have been no counseling appointments made towards the goal of introducing biological father and seeing what his role can be. But we're early in the case and we're just a disposition. It's my information, there was a new assaultive incident yesterday where mom punched dad. He's got a big, but we'll let the criminal case sort that out. I'm sure there'll be a police investigation and a police report. The children's needs are being met at home. You know, these kids have been fooled before. And they're a really good test for me to know if mom's doing well or not. I would suspect that mom is communicating with the children outside of visits, and I would ask the court to mention again, as you did in the court order last time, that contact not happen between visits. This is a time for mom to get better, for mom to do her case service plan, for mom to really benefit from services. And if she doesn't choose to change, or if she can't change, there isn't going to be a reunification. The kids have had it. The little ones are benefiting very much from the visits they have with mom. It is in a supervised capacity. I think maybe there could be more depending on resources of the family. Those little ones are very, they look up to their mom, and they haven't experienced as much as the older kids have, but mom was gonna get treatment, and whether she did or she didn't, it hasn't taken yet. Mom has to decide to make a change or this isn't gonna work. The older kids aren't gonna be fooled again. They live through an awful lot. There are just minimal resources to go around. You know, these kids have some clothes there's one bedroom for four girls, and it's all very neat, but they each have the privacy of their twin bed. That is it. There aren't play areas, there aren't outside, there's a little bit of outside areas, but this is a very marginal family, and mom's bad behavior cannot be tolerated. There's not enough resources to go around. These kids need lunch, they need tennis shoes, they need milk. Dad made a real healthy dinner for the kids. They were all sitting there eating it, and it was really nice to see this house, but mom can't interrupt that during this case. She has got to let them have some peace, some growth, get to school, do what they need to do. That's enough for this family. Mom's problems are too much. So we encourage her to follow this case service plan that has been laid out and make the changes necessary to reunite with her family and become an asset to the family again and get back on to raising the kids that she brought forth in the world, and it's her responsibility. She needs to get back there and make their lives good. So that concludes my report for today.
Thank you. Ms. Thomas?
Thank you. For purposes of initial disposition, I would ask Ms. Kopis to be sworn in.
Thank you. Ms. Kopis, come on up to our witness stand.
You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Is that an update? Yes, hopefully it won't stay that way. Okay, Ms. Thomas?
Thank you. Ms. Kopis, can you please state how you are familiar with this matter?
I'm the foster care state teacher that was assigned the case after the initial removal of the children.
And since the removal and the petitions been brought forth, have you had the opportunity to visit with the family and speak with the respondent parents?
I've had an opportunity to speak with all the parents, whether face-to-face or over phone calls. And then I've also had an opportunity to meet with the girls and talk to them as well.
And what is the current permanency goal for the children?
Reunification for the 2 older children, family preservation for the 2 younger children.
And all 4 children, as Ms. Heiss stated, are with Mr. Avalos, is that correct?
Yes.
And do you believe that that is the least restrictive environment to ensure their safety at this time?
It is.
And do you believe that he is exercising the reasonably prudent parent standards as it relates to raising the children?
Yes, Mr. Avalos has tried to maintain some normalcy for the children throughout this process, has tried to ensure that they have stuck to a routine, stuck to their normal routine, so that they are not as displaced as the case typically would allow or would typically do for a child.
And as a result of the reunification goal the permanency goal for the children, were you able to speak with mother about the case service plan that you submitted with your court report?
Briefly, we talked specifically about the court report, and then we've had a separate conversation in which we talked about services and what she thought would be beneficial, and what I thought would be beneficial.
As it relates to the court report and the attachments that you provided, are there any updates or modifications that you need to make to any of those documents?
I do have a letter which mother provided me. I attempted to make sure that all parties have it, so I apologize if that did not happen. Indicating that she has been in therapy since August 10th, that she is still currently participating. I did not get that letter until after everything was submitted, but I do have additional copies so that everyone can have them. The only other, I think, new development was that I did receive a phone call yesterday from Mr. Avalos alleging that there was an incident in which mother attacked him in his vehicle. I'm very concerned about that, given that mother is in treatment and that we have another incident in which she is also threatening another parent.
And you just mentioned another incident. One of the documents that you included is a police report. Is there any additional information that you would like to highlight for the court's attention on that point?
I don't have any other things on that point. Well, I apologize. I did have a conversation with mother about the allegation about her allegedly threatening to harm Mr. Miller. She did indicate that she did make those statements, but that she had meant them out of frustration, and that she was not serious and did not have an actual homicidal intent. So we had a conversation about words matter, and that is part of how this case developed. Was a statement was made that caused children to fear for their life, and that she did not have the luxury of making statements like that during this case.
Thank you for that update. And as it relates to the case service plan with mom, do you believe that the elements that are included in that are sufficient to address the conditions that cause the family to come under the court's jurisdiction?
I do.
And to date, has mom participated or engaged in any of the voluntary services?
She has, because she has already started in her mental health services, and she has already started with medication reviews, and she has been open with the department about the next coming services, and she's asked good questions about referrals and how the process works. And so other than the therapy and the medication review, she hasn't started services, but she's definitely engaging with me and definitely asking questions.
Great. And I noticed in your report that there are referrals made for the trauma assessments, and it looks like maybe there's one a week for a month or so. Are the children, or have any referrals been made for individual therapy at this time?
They have not been made for individual therapy at this time. The hope was to wait to see what the trauma assessments recommended, so that we were not duplicating services and that we were having a good start base of where the girls were at.
And have you had the opportunity to speak with them or the parents about how they feel about that plan moving forward?
I've had an opportunity to speak with Mr. Miller about therapy. He believes that they should be started sooner rather than later. Did not have great detailed conversation, other than that all parties do agree that they do need therapy and that it does need to start sooner rather than later.
Is there anything as it relates to parenting time? Ms. Heiss had made a comment that the younger children are benefiting quite a bit from that parenting time with mom. Do you have any recommendations or plans to modify parenting time?
So initially, the two older children did not want to visit, so we had not had any plans to modify or change parenting time other than what the court has right now. Mom is in the beginning of visiting and she does do well. I do not plan to change any of her visitation anytime soon.
Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to bring to the court's attention at this time?
The department is requesting that mom do her parenting time during the work hours. We do believe that she has demonstrated a behavior that does cause a safety risk, and I cannot guarantee the staffing and the logistics of doing a parenting time after 5 o'clock, and that will have all the security measures in place.
Would that interfere with any of the children's like extracurricular activities or anything?
It doesn't. Mom recently gained new employment and there appears to be a conflict there. I did have a brief discussion with her asking if she could inquire with her employer, and did her employer understand the court case that she was dealing with. She had indicated that her primary site did not know, but that the temp agency that she was working through did know. And so at this point, she said that she would inquire with work.
Okay, so the 4 p.m. parenting time may not, or may be conflict with her current work schedule, that if I'm hearing correctly?
Yes, she would like to move the visit back an hour.
Okay. And if that work is not agreeable to allowing her to have that time off, is there a backup plan to ensure safety of all parties involved?
We would have to have an FTM to discuss it further, discuss the safety measures that would need to be in place. And then I have made additional referrals to some of our private providers that provide parenting time, so that hopefully one of them can provide different hours or different needs for parenting time outside of the department's hours.
Thank you for that information. If there's nothing else, Your Honor, at this time, I'd move to admit the court report with the attachments.
No objection.
Brief word here regarding service, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead.
My client who called me this morning indicated she hadn't been served. Did you serve her 7 days prior to this? And if so, what manner?
No, I did not. We discussed it. I did not hand it to her. until we met up today. This is the first time I've seen her since the court report was written.
Okay, Your Honor, I do have a problem. My client hadn't had a chance to read it. I emailed it to her this morning, and she would like more time to read that. Maybe we could adjourn, so my client would have that opportunity to do so.
Ms. Copas, is there a reason you didn't include the parent with your email service to the rest of the parties?
I did not have an email address for mother, and generally I discuss it with them in person so that we can go through, like I did today when I went through with her, all of what the expectations would be for her and what we were looking forward. Like I said, we discussed the services, but no, I had not given her the actual.
What about the court report that you prepared?
I gave it to her today, so that was not done ahead of time.
Is there a reason why?
I had not seen mother, and my mom had moved during it. Mother had moved during this process, and so I had a moment of trying to find her. I do know where she's at now and do have the address and means to communicate with her.
All right, we typically just ask a parent to have an email address available so that when the email goes out to the attorneys, it also includes a direct email to the parent. Would you be able to accomplish that in the future?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. As well as file a proof of service so that we know when it was served.
Yes, ma'am.
What I would ask you, Mr. McFarland, is are you asking to adjourn for like 15 minutes or to a different day?
If you have a hard copy, if we can have a hard copy provided for my client, 15 minutes would be fine, Your Honor.
I was going to ask as well.
She has it now, but Captain Capshaw brought it over.
All right,
I gave
good.
that copy to her today.
Oh, you did? Okay, so.
Does
I
Mr.
don't-
Miller have his? Could we do his while we're waiting?
I'm happy to ask Deputy Ames to make some copies for us. He speaks copier. The case service plan also I have here is not signed. So Mr. McFarland, you might want to take a few minutes to talk with your client about that. as well.
I did. I have gone over the entire case service plan and she does have a couple concerns on that. We did discuss that this morning when I read it to her.
Okay, all right, yep. So we're gonna take a recess to let all those pieces fall into place. Deputy Ames, here's my copy, so that we can get a copy done from Mr. Miller. Mr. Brooks, do you need a copy?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.